Hey, so tonight we're going to talk about how medieval peasant women actually lived. And let me tell you, it's going to make you real grateful for that cozy mattress you're lying on right now. Oh, and if you're enjoying these stories, I'd really appreciate a like or subscribe. Super curious where you're all listening from, so drop a comment with your location and what time it is there. Always blows my mind how people are falling asleep to this all over the world. All right, find that cozy spot, take a nice slow breath, and just let your body sink into whatever you're lying on. We're heading back to medieval England, and trust me, you're going to be real grateful for indoor plumbing by the time we're done. So, congratulations, you just woke up in a medieval peasant cottage somewhere in England, around the year 1300. The first thing you notice is the smell. Not terrible exactly, but different. Wood smoke hangs in the air from the small fire smouldering in the central hearth. There's no chimney, just a hole in the thatched roof that sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. Your lungs are used to it. Your back aches slightly from sleeping on the straw mattress laid directly on the packed earth floor. No fancy bed frames here, just a lumpy pile of straw wrapped in coarse linen, shared with your sister and two younger brothers. The wool blanket scratches against your skin as you shift, but it kept you warm through the night despite the spring chill. It's barely dawn, just enough light filtering through the single unglazed window covered with a wooden shutter that doesn't quite close all the way. You hear your mother already up, stoking the fire, the gentle clinking of her stirring something in the cooking pot. The cottage is small, just one main room for your whole family. Thick walls made of wattle and daub, basically a bunch of sticks woven together and covered with a mixture of mud, clay, straw, and maybe some animal dung. Keeps the weather out, mostly. Your father coughs in his sleep from his spot near the wall. The hens in the corner start to cluck softly, knowing it's almost time to be let outside. The milk cow moos from the attached shed, ready for the day's first milking. Agnes, your mother calls softly. That's you. You're Agnes, a 14-year-old girl, the oldest daughter of a peasant family. Come help with the fire. You slip out from under the scratchy blanket, your bare feet hitting the cool dirt floor. No fancy wood floors here, just packed earth, maybe with some rush mats scattered around if your family's doing all right. Your simple linen chemise, basically a long undershirt that serves as your nightgown, falls to your ankles as you stand. It's the same one you've been wearing for days. Washing clothes is a major undertaking, and you only have two sets anyway. This one and your work clothes. You'll wash them next week, maybe, when you go down to the stream with the other village women. For now, the slightly sour smell of your own body is just part of life. Everyone smells. You don't even notice it. Coming, mother, you mumble, rubbing sleep from your eyes. Good news, you have a roof over your head. Bad news, that roof is thatched straw, and while it keeps most of the rain out, it's also home to mice, insects, and the occasional bird. You've learned to ignore the rustling sounds above you at night. You help your mother stoke the fire, adding small sticks to the embers that were carefully banked overnight. Fire is precious. If it goes out completely, someone will have to go to a neighbor to borrow some embers, and that's just embarrassing. The cottage begins to fill with smoke again as the fire grows, making your eyes water slightly. This is normal. This is home. We need water, your mother says, handing you a wooden bucket, and check the hen boxes for eggs. Outside, the early morning air is fresh and cool against your face, a welcome relief from the smoky interior. Dew soaks the hem of your chemise as you make your way to the village well. You should have put on your shoes, simple leather affairs with wooden soles that your father cobbled together last winter, but you were still half asleep when you left. The village is just waking up. A few other women are already at the well, drawing water for their morning needs. This is where you get the day's gossip. Who's marrying who? Whose cow is calving? Which families are arguing over land boundaries? Morning Agnes, calls Maud, the miller's wife. She's always first at the well, always seems to know everything happening in the village. Your father heading to the North Field today? Think so, you reply, lowering the bucket into the cool darkness of the well. The rope is rough against your palms, already calloused from years of work. We're helping with the planting. Better you than me, girl. My back couldn't take it anymore, Maud says with a laugh. She's only in her 30s, but her body is already bent from years of hard work. That's what being a medieval peasant woman does to you. You work until you can't, then you work some more. The bucket hits the water with a distant splash. You wait for it to fill, then begin the work of hauling it up. It's heavy, and your arms strain with the effort. This is just the first of many trips you'll make today. Water for cooking, water for drinking, water for the small garden, water for the animals. Back home, your mother has the porridge bubbling in the iron pot hanging over the fire. Simple fare, just oats boiled in water with a pinch of salt. If you're lucky, maybe a drizzle of honey from last year's collection, but not today. Honey is for special occasions or when someone's sick. Your younger siblings are up now, rubbing sleep from their eyes. Little John, only 4, is fussing about something. Your 8-year-old sister, Matilda, is already helping to set out the wooden bowls. Your brother Thomas, 12, is pulling on his work tunic, getting ready to join your father in the fields. Eggs? Your mother asks as you set down the heavy water bucket. Still need to check, you admit, and hurry to the corner where 3 hens nest in straw-filled boxes. You find 2 eggs, still warm. Not a great haul, but better than nothing. Your mother takes them with a nod. These won't go into the porridge. They'll be saved for baking bread later, or maybe traded with a neighbour for something you need. Breakfast is quick and quiet. The porridge fills your belly, though it lacks much flavour. You eat with a wooden spoon from a wooden bowl. No fancy plates or utensils here, just the basics carved by your father during the long winter evenings when fieldwork was impossible. After eating, you change into your work clothes, a simple linen chemise covered by a woolen kirtle, a type of dress with laces up the side to keep it fitted. The wool is scratchy against your skin, dyed a faded blue with woad, not the vibrant blue of nobility. That expensive dye comes from across the sea, but a duller shade that still shows you're not the poorest in the village. Your mother wove this cloth herself during winter evenings, sitting by the fire with her spindle and loom. Around your waist goes an apron, already stained with the work of many days. On your feet, those simple leather shoes. Your hair, long, brown, and not washed in weeks, gets quickly braided and tucked under a linen head covering. Unmarried girls can show their hair, but it's practical to keep it contained during work. We're heading to the North Field today, your father announces as he gulps down the last of his porridge. He's a solid man, weathered by years under the sun, his hands permanently dirt-stained and calloused. Lord wants the spring planting finished by week's end. The Lord is Sir Geoffrey, who owns all the land around your village. You and your family are free peasants, not serfs, which means you rent your cottage and fields from him instead of being bound to the land. Still, his word is law, and when he wants something done, it gets done. Agnes, you'll come with me and Thomas, your father continues. Matilda, help your mother with the washing and the garden. John stays home. This is how work divides in your world, not strictly by gender. Both men and women work the fields when needed, but by strength and skill. You're old enough and strong enough to help with planting, so to the fields you'll go. Your mother hands each of you a small bundle wrapped in cloth, bread and cheese for the midday meal. There won't be time to come home until evening. Mind the weather, she says, glancing at the sky visible through the open door. Looks like rain later. The North Field is a good half-hour walk from your cottage. You follow your father and brother along the rutted dirt path, joining other villagers heading the same way. Everyone has their own strips of land to farm, but you work together for efficiency, especially for ploughing and planting. The field stretches before you, freshly ploughed furrows of dark earth waiting for seed. The smell of soil is rich and promising. This is your family's main field, where you'll grow barley, the crop that will hopefully see you through the next year, providing both food and drink. Agnes, you follow behind Thomas and drop the seeds, your father instructs, handing you a small cloth sack filled with precious barley seed. These seeds were carefully saved from last year's crop, the best ones selected for planting, your family's future literally in your hands. And so the work begins. Your brother walks ahead, making small holes in the earth with a stick. You follow, dropping 2 or 3 seeds into each hole, then covering them with your foot. Your father works the next furrow over. Other families work their own strips nearby. There's talk and laughter despite the back-breaking labour. The sun climbs higher, your back begins to ache from the constant bending, your fingers are black with soil, sweat trickles down your spine despite the cool spring air. This is the reality of medieval peasant women's work, physically demanding, essential for survival, and utterly exhausting. By midday, you've planted half your family's allotment. You stop for the bread and cheese your mother packed, sitting under an oak tree at the field's edge with the other workers. The bread is dense and chewy, a far cry from the soft, fluffy stuff of modern bakeries. The cheese is sharp and hard, made from your own cow's milk. Good progress, your father says, surveying the field between bites. Weather holds, we'll finish by tomorrow. You take a drink from the leather water flask, also shared between the 3 of you. The water tastes slightly of the leather, but it quenches your thirst. The break is short, just long enough to eat and rest your back briefly. Then it's back to the endless furrows, the bending, the careful placement of seeds. Your future depends on this work being done well. By late afternoon, clouds are gathering. Just as your mother predicted, there's a cooler edge to the breeze. The field overseer, a man appointed by Sir Geoffrey to make sure everyone does their share, begins calling for people to finish up their rows. "Rain coming," he shouts. "Cover the seed sacks and get home." You hurry to finish your furrow, making sure each seed is properly covered. Rain now would be good for the planted seeds, but not for the ones still in the sacks. Those need to stay dry until they're in the ground. The first drops hit your face as you tie up your now lighter seed sack. Your father takes it from you, tucking it under his tunic to keep it dry. The walk home will be wet, but the precious seeds will be protected. The rain comes harder as your small family group hurries along the path back to the village. Within minutes, your clothes are soaked through, clinging to your skin. Your head covering droops over your eyes. Mud sucks at your shoes, but there's no real complaint among you. Rain means growth. Growth means food. Food means survival. This is the cycle you live by. Back at the cottage, your mother has a fire going despite the warmer spring day. The smoke seems even thicker with the damp air, but the warmth is welcome. She takes one look at your sodden group and begins fussing, helping you strip off the worst of the wet outer garments. "Told you it would rain," she says, but there's no scolding in it. Just the tired satisfaction of a woman who's learned to read the sky better than any book. The cottage is busy with evening activities. Matilda has been helping prepare the evening meal, a pottage of dried peas and onions with a precious bit of salt pork for flavour. The rich smell fills the small space. Little John is playing with carved wooden animals near the fire. safely out of the rain. You help hang the wet garments near the fire to dry, though they'll likely still be damp tomorrow. Nothing ever fully dries inside the smoky cottage. Your mother hands you a small bundle of wool and a spindle. Even after a full day in the fields, there's still work to be done. The constant creation of thread is necessary for the household. Later, this thread will become cloth on your mother's loom. The cloth will become garments, or be sold for other necessities. Your fingers work automatically, drawing out the wool and setting the spindle twirling. You've been doing this since you were Matilda's age. The rhythm is soothing after the hard physical labour of the day. Agnes will go with me to the market tomorrow, your mother announces, as she stirs the pottage. We need salt, and I've eggs and spun wool to trade. The market in the nearby town happens once a week. It's a chance to trade your small surplus for things you can't produce yourself. Salt, metal tools, perhaps a bit of spice if there's enough to trade. It's also a social occasion, a break from the routine of village life. You feel a small thrill at the news. The market means seeing people from other villages, hearing news from beyond your small world. Maybe that handsome smith's son will be there again, the one who smiled at you last month. As darkness falls, the family gathers around the fire to eat. The pottage is hot and filling, sopped up with more of that dense bread. You eat it all. Physical labour builds a hearty appetite, and food is never wasted. After the meal, there's time for mending clothes, more spinning, and a few stories told by your father. No books here. Few peasants can read, though you know your letters thanks to the village priest who took a liking to your quick mind. Stories are passed orally, tales of saints and heroes, practical advice wrapped in entertaining packages. Outside, the rain continues to fall, drumming on the thatched roof. Occasionally, a drop finds its way through, hitting the dirt floor with a soft plop. Your father places a wooden bowl under the worst drip. The roof will need patching when the weather clears. As the fire dies down to embers, your family prepares for sleep. Same spots as last night, same scratchy blankets, same straw mattress. Your muscles ache from the day's labour, but it's a familiar ache, the ache of having done necessary work. Your father banks the fire carefully, making sure the embers will last until morning. Fire is life, and keeping it going is essential. In the dim light, your mother's hands move in the sign of the cross over each child. Religion is woven through every aspect of your life. The church calendar determines your work days and rest days. The priest blesses your fields. Saints are called upon for protection from illness and disaster. As you lie back on the straw, listening to the gentle breathing of your siblings already drifting off to sleep, you think about tomorrow's market, the excitement of going somewhere different, seeing new faces, the possibility of catching a glimpse of that smith's son. This is your life. Hard work, simple pleasures, closely bound to family and land and seasons. There's comfort in its predictability, even with all its hardships. Your eyelids grow heavy as the warmth of bodies close together and the soft sounds of night fill the small cottage. Rain on thatch, the occasional shifting of the cow in her shed, your father's gentle snoring. You find that comfortable spot, the one hollow in the straw mattress that seems made for your hip. A yawn escapes, feeling good as your jaw stretches. The muscles in your back relax one by one, sinking deeper into the bedding as you watch the last embers glow orange in the darkness. Morning comes too soon, sunlight filtering through that gap in the shutters, landing right across your eyes. You blink awake, momentarily confused about why your back doesn't ache from field work. Then you remember, market day. The cottage is already bustling. Your mother is wrapping eggs carefully in straw, placing them in a small basket. 6 eggs, a decent number that might fetch enough for the salt you need, maybe with a bit extra. The spun wool is tied in neat bundles, the result of weeks of evening work by both you and your mother. "Up, Agnes," your mother says, noticing your open eyes. "We want to reach the market before midday." You stretch, feeling yesterday's field work in every muscle, then slip out from under the blanket. The morning routine is the same. Help with the fire, fetch water, check for eggs, only one today. Help with breakfast. The porridge is the same too, though there's a drizzle of honey this morning. A small luxury for market day. "Mind the garden while we're gone," your mother tells Matilda, "and help your father with whatever he needs." Your father and Thomas are heading back to the north field to continue planting. Little John will stay with Matilda, helping in the way that 4-year-olds do, which means mostly playing with the chickens and getting underfoot. "We'll bring back salt," you promise Matilda, who looks disappointed at being left behind. "Maybe something sweet if there's enough to trade." The town is about 2 hours' walk from your village, following the larger dirt road that eventually connects to the King's Highway. Your mother sets a brisk pace despite the basket balanced on her hip. You carry the wool bundles in a cloth sack slung over your shoulder. Both of you wear your best clothing, still simple wool kirtles but with fewer patches and stains than your everyday wear. "Remember," your mother says as you walk, rehearsing the same advice she gives before every market trip. "Don't let Miller John shortchange you on the wool. 2 bundles should get us enough salt for the month with something left over. And watch your basket around the town, boys. They'll snatch an egg quick as blinking if you're not careful." You nod, having heard it all before but understanding the importance. Your family's resources are too precious to waste through carelessness or naivety. The road grows busier as you approach the town. Other villagers with goods to trade or sell, men with small livestock, women with baskets of eggs or cheese or vegetables from early gardens. A few carts rumble past, belonging to more prosperous farmers or merchants. "Good day for the market," calls Eleanor, a woman from the next village over. She falls into step beside you, her own basket filled with small cloth pouches. Eleanor is known for her herb knowledge. She grows and dries herbs for cooking and medicine, selling them at market to supplement her family's income. "How's that cough of your husband's?" your mother asks. Last month she traded 2 eggs for one of Eleanor's cough remedies when your father fell ill after getting soaked in a late winter rain. "The horehound tea cleared it right up," Eleanor says with professional pride. "I told him it would. Men never believe until they see for themselves." Both women laugh, and you smile along, absorbing the comfortable camaraderie of women who understand each other's lives and struggles. The town appears ahead, not much by modern standards, just a cluster of buildings surrounding a central market square, all encircled by a low stone wall. But to your eyes, it's an exciting change from the familiar confines of your village. The buildings are larger, some even 2 stories tall. There are actual shops with goods displayed in open windows, though most trade happens in the market square itself. People crowd the narrow streets as you enter through the town gate. The noise hits you first. So many voices haggling, calling out wares, gossiping, arguing. Then the smells, human bodies, yes, but also fresh bread from the baker's ovens, smoke from smithy fires, the sharp tang of tanned leather, and occasionally the less pleasant odours of animal dung or open sewage channels. The market square is alive with activity. Temporary stalls form rough rows, each merchant or trader displaying their goods on simple tables or blankets spread on the ground. Livestock are penned in one corner, mostly chickens and goats, with the occasional pig or sheep. Your mother leads you confidently through the crowd to your usual spots. First to Miller John, a barrel-chested man with flour perpetually dusting his clothes and beard. Despite your mother's warnings, he's generally fair in his trades, especially with repeat customers. Margaret, he greets your mother with a nod. Agnes, another nod for you. Brought wool today, I see. Your mother hands over the bundles for his inspection. His fingers, thick but surprisingly delicate, test the quality of the spinning. Good work as always, he approves. What are you after? Salt mainly, your mother replies, and whatever else this might be worth. The negotiation begins, a careful dance of offers and counter-offers. You watch and listen, absorbing the skill of it. This too is part of a woman's work, knowing the value of what you produce and refusing to be shortchanged. Eventually, a deal is struck. 2 bundles of wool for a small sack of precious salt and a handful of dried apples, a treat your younger siblings will fight over. Next, to the egg seller, a pinch-faced woman who buys from local villagers to resell to townspeople at a profit. Your mother's 6 eggs fetch a few copper coins. Not much, but actual money is rare in your daily life and useful for some purchases. With the main business concluded, there's time to wander the market, looking at goods your family could never afford, fine fabrics from far-off places, metal tools hammered by skilled smiths, glazed pottery that wouldn't break like your family's wooden bowls. Agnes! You turn at the sound of your name, seeing Emma, a girl about your age from a neighbouring village. You only see each other at market days or church festivals, but there's a friendship built from these occasional meetings. Mother, can I? You begin. Go on, your mother nods, understanding the importance of these connections. Meet me by the church steps when the bell rings for midday prayers. Freedom, even if just for an hour or so. You and Emma link arms, giggling as you navigate through the crowd. Did you hear about Mary from Oakwood? Emma asks, leaning in conspiratorially. She's to be married next month to that Cooper's son she's been making eyes at since Christmas. This is the currency of young women's conversations. Who's marrying whom? Which girls are in trouble before marriage? Which young men are considered good prospects? Not just idle gossip, but vital information in a world where your marriage choice will determine much of your future comfort and security. The smith's son is here. Emma nudges you, nodding toward a stall where a young man hammers at a piece of metal, sparks flying. The one you mentioned last time. Edward, isn't it? You feel your cheeks warm, not entirely from the spring sun. I don't know his name, you lie, though you've asked around enough to learn that much at least. Well, he's looking at you now, Emma whispers, and sure enough, when you glance over, Edward is watching you. He offers a small smile before returning to his work. Your heart beats a little faster. At 16, Edward is already learning his father's trade. Being a smith's wife would mean living in town, having a proper house with actual walls separating rooms, maybe even glass in the windows someday. It would mean hard work. Still, all women's lives are filled with labour, but different work, more varied, less dependent on the whims of weather and seasons. You should speak to him, Emma urges. And say what? Your confidence with fields and animals doesn't extend to handsome young men. Ask about something he's making, anything, just to talk. You gather your courage, stepping closer to the smith's stall while Emma watches from a safe distance, barely containing her excitement. Edward looks up as you approach, setting down his hammer. Can I help you? His voice is deeper than you expected, with a slight crack that reveals he's not fully grown yet. What are you making? The question comes out in a rush, your eyes fixed on the piece of metal on his small, portable anvil. "Hinges," he answers, holding up the partially formed piece, "for the tavern's new door. They're very straight," you say, immediately wanting to sink into the ground from embarrassment. "Straight? That's the best you could come up with?" But Edward smiles, seemingly pleased by your notice. "They need to be, or the door won't hang right." He shows you the piece more closely. "See how this edge needs to be perfectly aligned with this one?" You nod, not entirely understanding, but grateful for his patience. "You're good at it." "Been learning since I was 10, he says with justifiable pride. "My father says I'll be ready to make my first ploughshare by winter." A bell rings out from the church tower, signalling midday prayers. Your time is up. "I have to go," you say reluctantly. "My mother's waiting." "Will you be at the Midsummer Fair?" Edward asks quickly before you can turn away. The Midsummer Fair, the biggest gathering of the year when people from all the surrounding villages come together for trading, games, dancing around the bonfire. "Yes," you answer, hope fluttering in your chest. "Good," he says simply. "I'll look for you." You practically float back to the church steps where your mother waits. She gives you a knowing look but doesn't comment on your flushed cheeks or the smile you can't quite suppress. The brief midday prayer service is conducted in Latin, which neither you nor most of the townspeople understand, but the rituals are familiar and comforting. The sign of the cross, the kneeling and standing at appropriate moments, the final blessing. Afterward, your mother uses one of the precious copper coins to buy a small loaf of wheat bread from the baker, a luxury compared to the coarser barley and rye bread you make at home. You share it as you begin the walk back to the village, the soft, slightly sweet crumb, a delicious change from your usual fare. "Did you enjoy your time with Emma?" your mother asks, her tone casual but her eyes sharp. "Yes," you answer simply, not volunteering information about Edward. But mothers have a way of knowing. "And the Smith's boy, the one who couldn't take his eyes off you?" You blush furiously. "His name is Edward. He's learning to make ploughshares." Your mother nods thoughtfully. "A good trade. His father is well respected." She leaves it at that. But you understand the unspoken approval. A Smith's son would be a good match. Better than you might have hoped for as a simple peasant girl. The walk home seems shorter somehow, your mind full of possibilities. Edward's smile, the Midsummer Fair, the idea of a future different from your mother's life of endless field work. Reality reasserts itself as your village comes into view, the familiar cottages with their thatched roofs, the fields beyond where your father and brother are still working, the animals that need tending, the garden waiting for weeding. Your younger siblings run out to meet you, eager to see what treasures you've brought from market. You show them the dried apples, allowing each to take one piece now, saving the rest for later treats. The salt is carefully stored in a small earthenware jar kept high on a shelf to protect it from moisture. Salt is essential for preserving food and adding flavor, making it one of your most valuable possessions. There's no time to rest after the long walk. The garden needs attention, water needs fetching, food needs preparing. Your mother sets you to preparing vegetables for the evening meal, while she checks on the small patch of flax growing behind the cottage, future linen for clothing, if the crop does well. You chop wild onions and last year's stored carrots, dropping them into the ever-present pot of pottage that simmers at the edge of the fire. The vegetables will join the leftover dried peas from yesterday, creating a soup that forms the basis of almost every meal. If you're lucky, there might be a bit of bacon or salt pork to add flavour, but not today. The meat is carefully rationed, saved for times when extra energy is needed for heavy work. As you work, your mind keeps returning to Edward, the way he explained the hinges, his question about the midsummer fair. You imagine dances around the bonfire, his hand holding yours. Agnes, you're letting it boil over. Your mother's sharp voice snaps you back to reality. The pottage is indeed bubbling up dangerously close to the pot's rim. You quickly move it further from the hottest part of the fire, stirring to bring it under control. Head in the clouds today, your mother observes, but there's a softness in her tone, a recognition of your youthful dreams. She was young once too, maybe dreaming of your father the way you now dream of Edward. The afternoon passes in the rhythm of chores. Your father and Thomas return from the fields, tired but satisfied with their progress. The spring planting is crucial. Get it wrong and winter will be lean and hungry. Field's done, your father announces as he washes his hands in the basin by the door, moving to the west field tomorrow. Dinner is the enhanced pottage, with the market-bought wheat bread broken into pieces and shared among the family. Your father notices the improvement immediately. "Good trading today?" he asks your mother. She nods. The wool fetched salt and dried apples, the eggs brought a few coins. No mention of your encounter with Edward. Some things stay between women. After the meal, there's the usual evening work, cleaning up, preparing for tomorrow, spinning more wool, but tonight feels different somehow. The future seems to hold more possibilities than it did yesterday. As darkness falls, your father tells stories by firelight, tales of saints and miracles. Funny anecdotes about neighbours, occasionally a story from the old days before the Normans came, passed down through generations. This is how history lives in a world without books for common people. "Tell the one about St. Agnes," Matilda requests, looking at you. She loves that you share a name with a saint, even if it was just coincidence. You were named for your grandmother. Your father launches into the familiar tale of the virgin martyr who refused to marry a pagan and was blessed with miraculous protection. You've heard it so many times you could recite it yourself, but there's comfort in the familiar words, in the way your father's voice rises and falls with the drama of the story. Outside, an owl hoots, signalling full night has fallen. Soon it will be time for sleep, and tomorrow the cycle will begin again. Water, fire, food, work, the eternal rhythm of peasant life. Your mother hands you a small bundle of carded wool and a spindle. Even with tired fingers, there's always more thread to be spun. The repetitive motion is soothing, almost meditative. Around and around goes the spindle, the wool drawing out into an even thread under your practiced touch. In the warmth of the fire, with your family around you, it's easy to feel content despite the hardships of your life. This is what you know, this is home, but now there's also a spark of something else, a possibility glimpsed at market, a different future perhaps than the one that seemed inevitable. Edward's smile, the midsummer fair, a chance, however small, for something more. Your eyelids grow heavy as the evening wears on, your hands still mechanically spinning. The fire burns lower, casting long shadows on the walls of the cottage. One by one, your family members prepare for sleep, washing hands and faces with precious water, saying prayers, finding their spots on the shared sleeping spaces. You bank the fire carefully as your father taught you, making sure it will last through the night. Fire is life, both the warmth it provides and the practical necessity of not having to restart it each morning. In the dim glow of the embers, you settle onto your straw mattress, finding that one comfortable spot where your body fits just right. Your muscles relax, the tension of the long day seeping away as you stretch out your legs and wiggle your toes. Your mind drifts between the reality of your present and dreams of what might come, the hardness of the earth floor beneath the thin mattress, the soft sounds of your family breathing around you, the memory of Edward's eyes meeting yours, the weight of tomorrow's work waiting at dawn. A yawn escapes as you shift slightly, getting more comfortable as the night deepens around the small cottage. The familiar smell of wood smoke and straw fills your nostrils as your breathing naturally slows, matching the gentle rhythm of your siblings beside you. That's it, just like that. As the weight of the day settles into your bones and the quiet darkness wraps around you like the woolen blanket covering your tired limbs. The next few weeks pass in a blur of constant work. Spring is the hungriest time for peasant families like yours, the stored food from last harvest running low, the new crops not yet ready to eat. Every day is a careful balance of conserving what you have while still maintaining the strength to work. The rhythm of life continues. Fields are planted. Barley, rye, oats, peas, gardens begin to yield the first tender greens. The cow produces milk that becomes cheese and butter under your mother's skilled hands. The sheep are sheared, adding to the never-ending cycle of carding, spinning and weaving that fills your evenings. You find yourself watching the sky more often, counting the days until the midsummer fair, wondering if Edward will remember his promise to look for you. Today is bread-making day. Once a week, the women of your family work together to produce the loaves that will feed you for days. It's a labour-intensive process that starts before dawn. Agnes, check the starter, your mother instructs as she adds wood to the fire. The sourdough starter, a mixture of flour and water where wild yeasts have made their home, lives in a special crock kept near the fire. It's been in your family for generations, passed from mother to daughter, carefully maintained and divided when a daughter leaves to start her own household. You uncover the crock, inhaling the tangy, yeasty smell. It's ready, you confirm, seeing the bubbles that indicate active fermentation. Bread making is serious business. A mistake means hunger. Your family can't afford to waste precious flour on failed loaves. You watch carefully as your mother combines the starter with more flour and water, kneading the resulting dough with strong, practiced movements. "Your turn," she says, stepping back to let you take over the kneading. Your arms ache as you push and fold the resistant dough. This isn't the light, fluffy white bread of modern bakeries. Medieval peasant bread is dense, dark, and made with whatever grains are available, often barley and rye rather than wheat, which is usually reserved for selling or paying taxes to the Lord. More strength in your wrists, your mother coaches. It needs to be smooth before it rises. After what feels like hours, the dough finally reaches the right consistency. You cover it with a cloth and set it near the fire to rise slowly through the morning. While the dough rises, there are other tasks to complete. Water to fetch, animals to tend, the never-ending work of keeping a medieval household functioning. Matilda helps you carry the laundry to the stream that runs behind the village, mostly linens that need washing, as clothing is washed far less frequently. The cold water numbs your hands as you scrub the fabric against smooth stones, using a small amount of precious soap for the worst stains. Other women from the village are there too, creating a social atmosphere despite the hard work. This is where news spreads, advice is exchanged, and community bonds are strengthened. "Did you hear about the new tax?" asks Winifred, an older woman whose gnarled hands speak of decades of such labour. Lord Geoffrey's steward was announcing it yesterday. Another silver penny per household for the King's War in France. A collective groan rises from the washerwomen. Another tax means more hardship, more careful rationing, potentially going without necessities. My Thomas says the French deserve what's coming to them, offers another woman, but I say it's not worth our silver, fighting over who sits on which fancy chair. Politics might seem distant from your daily concerns, but taxes and wars have direct impacts on peasant lives. More taxes mean less food on your table. Wars mean young men taken from fields that need tending. Everything connects back to survival. You listen to the women's conversation, absorbing their perspectives and wisdom. This too is education, learning how to navigate the complex world beyond your cottage, understanding the forces that shape your existence. Agnes, calls Joan, a woman about your mother's age. I hear you caught the eye of the smith's son at market. Her tone is teasing but kind. Word travels fast in small communities. You feel your cheeks grow hot despite the cool spring air. We just talked, you mumble, focusing intently on the sheet you're washing. He's a good lad, Joan nods approvingly. Strong arms, steady work. His mother was my cousin, you know. Good family. This is how courtships are evaluated in your world. Not just the young man himself, but his family connections, his prospects, his reputation for hard work. Marriage isn't primarily about romance, but about creating a viable partnership for survival. The midsummer fair will be here before we know it, Winifred adds with a knowing smile. Many a match has been made during those dances. By the time you and Matilda return to the cottage with the clean, wet linens to hang on bushes for drying, the bread dough has risen sufficiently. Your mother is already heating the communal village oven, a stone structure that families take turns using, as few can afford to build and fuel their own. The dough is divided into 4 loaves, shaped and placed on wooden peels for transfer to the hot oven. Timing is critical. Too long and the precious bread will burn, too short and it won't cook through, potentially causing sickness. Watch for the colour. Your mother instructs Matilda, passing on the knowledge as her mother once taught her. When it's the brown of a hazelnut, it's ready. The smell of baking bread fills the air around the oven, making your stomach growl despite the small breakfast you had earlier. One of the hardest parts of bread-making day is waiting those long hours for the finished loaves, knowing you can't afford to cut into them while they're still hot. While the bread bakes, you help your father and brother with another essential task, repairing the wattle fence around your garden. The woven sticks have begun to rot in places after the winter, creating gaps where hungry animals could get to your precious vegetables. Hold this upright, your father instructs, handing you a fresh hazel branch cut from the nearby woods. He begins weaving smaller, more flexible branches horizontally through the vertical stakes, creating a sturdy barrier. This is skilled work, though it might not appear so to modern eyes. The knowledge of which woods work best, how to cut and prepare them, how to weave them for maximum strength, all this is passed down through generations of practical experience. By midday, both the fence repair and the bread baking are complete. The hot loaves cool on the cottage table, filling the small space with their earthy aroma. Your mother cuts a thin slice from one loaf, a small luxury on baking day, and divides it among the family. The bread is dense and chewy, not particularly flavorful by modern standards, but immensely satisfying when you've helped create it from soil to table. Every bite represents hours of labor, ploughing, sowing, harvesting, threshing, milling, kneading, baking. Good texture, your father approves, a high compliment from a man of few words. Should last the week. After the small celebration of fresh bread, it's back to work. The afternoon brings a new task, gathering herbs and plants from the woods and meadows around the village. This is primarily women's work, requiring knowledge passed from mother to daughter about which plants heal, which harm, which can be eaten, and which should be avoided. Look for young nettles, your mother advises as you walk along the edge of the woodland, basket in hand. They're good in pottage, and they build the blood. You spot the distinctive leaves, carefully pinching them at the base to avoid the sting. Your fingers are calloused enough that the mild venom barely registers anymore. Into the basket they go, alongside dandelion greens, wild garlic, and tender sorrel leaves. "Is this right?" Matilda asks, holding up a plant with delicate white flowers. Your mother examines it carefully before nodding. "Good eye. That's stitchwort, useful for pain in the side. Remember how the leaves grow opposite each other on the stem? That's how you know it's not the poisonous kind." This knowledge is vital. In a world without doctors or hospitals for common people, women are the primary healthcare providers. Every cottage has its collection of dried herbs hanging from rafters, its small pots of salves and tinctures for treating everything from fevers to wounds to childbirth pain. You've been learning these skills since you could walk, yet there's always more to absorb. Which plants to gather at which phase of the moon, how to dry and store them properly, which combinations work best for different ailments. When you're married, your mother says as she carefully digs up a valerian root, make sure to plant mint and rosemary near your door. Mint keeps away fleas and rosemary strengthens the heart. The casual mention of your future marriage sends your thoughts back to Edward. Would a Smith's household even have space for a garden? Or would you need to rely on the market and gathering from common lands for your medicines? The basket grows fuller as the afternoon progresses. These gathered plants will supplement your family's diet and medicine cabinet for days to come, providing vital nutrients after the lean winter months. On your way back to the village, you pass the manor house where Lord Geoffrey lives, a stone building that seems impossibly grand compared to your humble cottage. While you've gathered plants freely from the commons, you're careful not to trespass on the Lord's private woodland, where taking even a stick without permission could result in harsh punishment. "Lady Isabel is with child again," your mother comments as you pass, nodding toward the manor. "The midwife was called last night for her sickness." Despite the vast differences in wealth and status, childbirth creates a certain connection between women of all classes. The same midwife who will eventually attend Lady Isabel will also help peasant women like your mother. The same herbs ease labour pains for noble and common women alike. Death in childbirth is a fear shared across social boundaries. Back at the cottage, the gathered plants must be processed immediately to preserve their properties. Some are hung in bunches from the rafters to dry, others are chopped and added directly to the evening's pottage. Medicinal plants are prepared according to their purpose. Some steeped in water, others in precious wine or ale. Still others combined with honey or fat to make salves. As the sun begins to lower, your father and Thomas return from checking the fish traps in the stream, a task that supplements your diet when successful. Today they bring 3 small fish, a welcome addition to the evening meal. "Matilda, show me what you've learned," your mother says, handing the fish to your younger sister. At 8, Matilda is already learning all the skills she'll need as an adult woman. With only slight hesitation, Matilda takes a sharp knife and begins the process of cleaning the fish, removing scales, heads, and innards with increasingly confident movements. Nothing is wasted. The heads and bones will flavour the pottage, the innards will feed the chickens. You focus on your own task, grinding dried herbs with a stone mortar and pestle to make a cough remedy for old Walter, who lives alone since his wife died last winter. The village takes care of its elders through such small kindnesses, knowing that one day they too will rely on the community's support. The evening meal is richer than usual thanks to the fish and fresh herbs added to the pottage. The family eats appreciatively, aware that such protein is a luxury rather than a daily occurrence. As darkness falls, the cottage grows dim. Lighting is another luxury used sparingly. Rush lights, reed stems soaked in animal fat, provide minimal illumination for essential evening tasks, but most work stops when daylight fades. Tonight, however, is slightly different. Your mother brings out a small piece of precious beeswax and begins to form it into a candle, adding a simple wick of twisted flax. "For the church," she explains, seeing your questioning look. "For St. John's feast next week." Religious devotion is woven through every aspect of medieval life. The agricultural year is marked by saints' days and church festivals. Each family contributes what they can to the church's upkeep and rituals, whether through labour, produce, or small items like candles. As your mother works the wax with slightly warmed hands, your father mends a leather harness by the fading light. Thomas whittles a new handle for a tool. You and Matilda card wool, preparing it for spinning. Even in these dimly lit evening hours, idle hands are rare. "Will we go to the midsummer fair?" Matilda asks, hopefully, her fingers working the carding combs with growing skill. "If the weather holds and the early crops look good," your father answers, his typical caution showing. For peasants, every journey away from essential work must be justified. Your heart beats a little faster at the mention of the fair. Will Edward be there? Will he remember you? "The Lord Steward said there'll be a travelling player this year," Thomas adds, "with trained dogs that can count and dance." Such entertainment is rare in your world, making festivals all the more special. The chance to see something new, to experience music and performances, to break the routine of daily survival. These opportunities come only a few times each year. And dancing, your mother adds with a small smile. "There's always dancing at midsummer." The conversation turns to memories of past fairs, the year it rained so hard the bonfire wouldn't light, the time your father won a contest of strength and brought home a new knife as prize, the midsummer when your parents first danced together, beginning the courtship that led to their marriage. These shared stories strengthen family bonds, connecting past to present. They're how history lives in a largely illiterate society, passed orally from one generation to the next, shaped by memory and meaning rather than precise chronology. Eventually, the growing darkness makes even simple tasks difficult. The family prepares for sleep, washing hands and faces with a small amount of water, saying prayers, finding their spots on the shared sleeping spaces. Your mother's hand rests briefly on your head in a wordless blessing before she settles beside your father. This simple gesture of affection carries the weight of all she hopes for you: health, happiness, a good marriage, children of your own to teach as she has taught you. As you lie on your straw mattress, listening to the familiar sounds of your family drifting to sleep, your mind wanders between practical concerns and youthful dreams. Will the weather hold for tomorrow's work in the West Field? Did you hang the medicinal herbs correctly? What will you wear to the midsummer fair? Will Edward seek you out for a dance? The cottage is dark except for the faint glow of banked fire embers. Outside, an owl calls, answered by the distant bark of a fox. These night sounds are the backdrop to your thoughts, as familiar as your own heartbeat. Despite the hardships of your life, the constant work, the precarious existence, always at the mercy of weather and harvests, the limited opportunities for advancement, there is also security in its predictability. You know your place in the world. You have skills that ensure your value to family and community. You understand the rhythms of the seasons and what each requires for survival. Your eyelids grow heavy as you find that perfect hollow in the straw mattress where your body fits just right. The day's labour has left your muscles pleasantly tired, ready for the renewal of sleep. Your breathing naturally slows as you snuggle deeper under the woolen blanket, feeling the weight of it press you gently into the bedding. A yawn escapes, feeling good as your jaw stretches wide. The tightness in your shoulders begins to melt away as you settle more comfortably, listening to the soft sounds of your family breathing around you. That's it, just like that, letting yourself drift in that peaceful place between wakefulness and dreams where the medieval world around you blends with the possibilities of tomorrow. The next morning begins like all others: fire, water, food, work. But today there's excitement humming through the village. The priest has announced that a travelling peddler has arrived, setting up his wares in front of the church. Such visitors are rare and welcome breaks in the routine of village life. Peddlers bring news from other places, small luxuries not available locally, and sometimes letters for the few villagers with connections beyond the immediate area. Your mother gives you a copper coin, one saved from the egg money at the last market. See if he has any needles, she instructs, the fine kind for mending, and find out what news he brings. You and several other villagers make your way to the church green where the peddler has laid out his goods on a colourful cloth. He's a middle-aged man with a weathered face and alert eyes that miss nothing, dressed in clothes more varied and colourful than the homespun garments of your community. "Come, good people," he calls as the crowd gathers. "I bring treasures from London itself, from the great fairs of the continent, goods to delight the eye and ease your labours." His pack seems to contain an impossible variety of small items: needles and pins, ribbons and laces, small knives, simple jewellery, tiny pots of rare spices, miracle cures in mysterious bottles, religious medallions, and more. You examine the needles carefully, selecting one that seems well made, with a smooth eye that will allow thread to pass easily. The peddler names his price, more than you expected, and the negotiation begins. "That's highway robbery for a simple needle," you protest, channeling your mother's market skills. "Highway robbery? My dear girl, this needle was made by the finest smiths in London. Feel the balance, the smoothness. It will last for years with proper care." He holds firm on the price. You counter again, suggesting a lower amount. The dance continues, neither giving ground too quickly. Finally, you reach an agreement that leaves both of you feeling satisfied with the transaction. With the needle tucked safely into your apron pocket, you linger to hear the news the peddler shares. This is as valuable as his goods, information from beyond your limited horizons. "The King's War goes poorly in France," he tells the gathered villagers. "More taxes coming, mark my words, and there's sickness in the eastern counties, a fever that takes the young and old alike. These tidings are met with murmurs of concern. War means taxes and potentially the conscription of young men from villages. Sickness brings fear of contagion spreading to your own community." But the peddler has happier news too. Stories of festivals in larger towns, rumours of a good harvest predicted for the autumn, tales of a new saint's shrine where miraculous healings have occurred. You absorb it all, this window into the wider world beyond your village. Later, you'll share the news with your family, adding your own observations and interpretations. As the crowd begins to disperse, returning to waiting work, the peddler calls you back. "Girl," the one with the sharp eye for needle quality. You turn, surprised at being singled out. "A message for you," he says quietly, glancing around to ensure privacy. "From the smith's son in town. Edward, I believe his name is." Your heart jumps. "A message? For me?" The peddler nods, a knowing smile playing at his lips. He said to tell you he's crafting something special, something to give you at the midsummer fair. If you'll accept it, heat rises in your cheeks. A gift from Edward? Such a tangible expression of interest goes beyond casual conversation at market. It suggests serious intentions. "Thank you," you manage to say, your voice barely above a whisper. The peddler winks. Young love, always a pleasure to witness. He turns away to pack his remaining goods, leaving you standing there, mind racing with possibilities. A gift from a craftsman isn't just a token of affection, it represents hours of labor, precious materials, skills honed over years of apprenticeship. For Edward to make something specifically for you signals value and commitment. You hurry back to the cottage, eager to help your mother with the day's tasks so you can share this extraordinary news when the moment is right. The copper needle in your pocket seems to burn with significance now, a connection to the town where Edward works his forge. The rest of the day passes in a blur of normal activities, tending the garden, feeding animals, preparing food, but underneath runs a current of anticipation. The midsummer fair, still weeks away, now shimmers with even greater promise. That evening, as you help your mother with the spinning, you find the courage to mention the peddler's message. She listens without interrupting, her fingers never pausing in their work. "A gift," she repeats when you finish. "And did the peddler say what sort of gift?" "No," you admit. "Just that Edward is making something special." Your mother nods thoughtfully. "The smith's son, a good match, if it comes to that." She gives you a rare, warm smile. "Better than I managed at your age?" This is as close as she'll come to explicit approval. The hardships of peasant life leave little room for romantic sentimentality, but parents still want their children to find beneficial partnerships, hopefully with some measure of compatibility and affection. "What will you give him in return?" she asks practically. You hadn't considered this. Exchanges should be reciprocal, but what could you, a peasant girl, offer a skilled craftsman? "I could weave a belt," you suggest, "or embroider a kerchief." Your mother considers. "The belt, I think. You have a good hand for weaving, and it's a useful gift for a working man." She rises and goes to the small chest where she keeps her most valuable possessions, returning with a small bundle of dyed wool threads in rich blues and reds, colours far more vibrant than your everyday clothing. "I've been saving these," she explains, "for your future. This seems a worthy use." The gift of these precious materials, likely acquired years ago and carefully preserved, speaks volumes about your mother's support. It's a sacrifice made willingly for your potential happiness. "Thank you," you say simply, understanding the weight of both the practical and emotional gift. "We'll start tomorrow," she promises. "There's time before midsummer to create something worthy of a craftsman's eye." That night, as you settle onto your straw mattress, your thoughts are full of possibilities. The smooth needle in your apron pocket, the coloured threads waiting to become a belt, Edward's hands creating something unknown but special, just for you. The cottage is quiet except for the soft breathing of your family and the occasional pop from the banked fire. Outside, the first summer insects have begun their night songs, a gentle chorus that will grow louder as the weeks progress toward midsummer. Your body relaxes into the familiar bedding, finding that one spot where the straw has moulded perfectly to your shape. The weight of the day's work settles into your muscles, a pleasant heaviness that speaks of productivity and purpose. A yawn escapes as you shift slightly, getting more comfortable as your breathing naturally slows. The soft sounds of night envelop you like a gentle embrace, cradling you between wakefulness and dreams. That's it, nice and easy, just like that, as the events of the day soften and blur around the edges, leaving only a warm glow of anticipation for what might come with the midsummer fair. The weeks leading up to midsummer are the busiest of the year for medieval peasants. The days grow longer, providing more light for work. Early crops need tending, weeding, and in some cases, harvesting. Hay must be cut at precisely the right time. Too early and it won't have reached its full growth. Too late and its nutritional value for winter animal feed diminishes. For women like you and your mother, this season brings specific challenges and responsibilities. The work never lessens, but its nature shifts with the changing seasons. Today finds you in the small family garden, carefully thinning the growing vegetables. Each plant removed creates space for others to thrive, but it's precise work requiring knowledge passed from mother to daughter over generations. Not that one, your mother corrects, pointing to a carrot seedling you were about to pull. See how the leaves are stronger? That's the one to keep. You nod, absorbing the lesson. The garden may seem small compared to the larger fields, but it's vital to your family's survival. The vegetables grown here will provide essential nutrients through summer and, properly stored, into the lean winter months. Will we pickle cabbage this year? Matilda asks, working alongside you, learning as you once learned. If the crop is good, your mother answers, the barrel needs mending first. This casual conversation contains important planning for future food security. Fermented cabbage, what modern people might call sauerkraut, preserves well and provides vital nutrition during winter when fresh vegetables are unavailable. The sun beats down as morning turns to midday. Sweat trickles between your shoulder blades, soaking the back of your linen chemise. There's no rest yet. The garden needs finishing before you can move to the next task. As you work, your mind wanders to the belt you've begun weaving for Edward. Each evening after the day's labour is complete, you've been carefully working the coloured threads your mother provided, creating a pattern of interlocking diamonds that's both decorative and sturdy. Agnes, your mother's voice snaps you back to attention. Mind what you're doing, that's lovage you're pulling, not a weed. You blush, realising your distraction has nearly cost the family a valuable medicinal herb. Sorry, Mother. She gives you a knowing look, but doesn't scold further. Perhaps she remembers her own distracted moments when courting your father all those years ago. By early afternoon, the garden work is complete. Your back aches from hours of bending, and your fingernails are rimmed with dirt despite scraping them clean several times. But there's satisfaction in seeing the neat rows of vegetables, each plant now having space to grow properly. The washing needs to be done, your mother says, already moving on to the next task. There is never an end to women's work in this world. You gather the family's linens, not the outer clothing, which is washed far less frequently, but the inner garments that touch the skin directly. These are washed weekly when possible, a practice that helps prevent the skin diseases common in medieval communities with less rigorous hygiene. At the stream, other women have gathered for the same purpose. Washing is never just about cleaning clothes. It's a social activity, a chance for women to share news, advice, and support away from male ears. Agnes, calls Eleanor, the herb woman from the next village. I heard a whisper about you and the smith's son. Her tone is teasing but kind. News travels fast in small communities. You focus on scrubbing a stubborn stain, hoping the exertion explains your flushed cheeks. Is he making you something for midsummer? Asks another woman, young like you but already married with a baby strapped to her back as she works. Maybe, you admit, unwilling to share the full detail of the peddler's message. The women exchange knowing glances. In a world where few formal records exist for common people, community knowledge and approval matter. These women are not just gossiping, they're participating in the social process that eventually leads to marriages, the foundations of new households within the community. "A smith makes a good husband," offers Winifred, the oldest of the washing women. "Steady work, not dependent on weather like farming, and smiths usually live longer. They're not breaking their backs in the fields every day." This practical assessment of Edward's marriageability makes perfect sense in your world. Romance might play a part in attraction, but survival considerations ultimately matter more. "He's got gentle hands for a smith," adds Eleanor with a wink. "I've seen him with the small work, buckles and such, precise. That's a good quality in a man." The conversation shifts to preparations for the Midsummer Festival, now just days away. Who's bringing what food? Which families are contributing to the communal ale making? Which young people might pair off during the dancing? "The Lord Steward says there'll be musicians this year," someone mentions, "a piper and a drummer from the next county." This news causes excitement. Music is rare except for church singing and the occasional wandering minstrel. The chance to dance to real instruments rather than just singing and clapping makes the festival even more anticipated. You finish your washing and wring out the wet linens, arms aching from the effort. The cleaned garments are spread on bushes to dry in the summer sun, a luxury not available in winter when drying must happen near the cottage fire, filling the small space with damp air. Back at the cottage, your mother is preparing special bread for the midsummer feast. Unlike your everyday loaves, this one contains precious honey and dried fruits saved specifically for celebrations. The smell as it bakes in the communal oven makes your mouth water. "We'll need to gather more herbs tomorrow," she tells you as you help shape the dough. Midsummer herbs have special properties, gathered when the sun is at its highest point of the year. This bit of folk wisdom blends Christian and older pagan beliefs, as many practices do in medieval village life. The church officially frowns on such superstitions, but the priest generally looks the other way as long as people attend mass and pay their tithes. That evening your father returns from the fields with news. "The hay cutting begins tomorrow," he announces. "All hands needed." This is not unexpected. The timing of hay harvest depends on weather and grass growth, but it adds urgency to your preparation for midsummer. The festival is the day after tomorrow, which means tomorrow will be filled with both regular work and festival preparations. Will we still have time to gather the herbs? You ask your mother privately. She nods. "We'll go at midday when the sun is highest. Your father and Thomas can manage without us for that short time." The next morning dawns clear and hot, promising perfect weather for hay cutting. You rise before full light, helping prepare a heartier breakfast than usual. Workers cutting hay need more energy than for regular field work. The family eats quickly, eager to reach the field while the morning is still cool. Hay cutting is one of the most physically demanding tasks of the agricultural year, requiring strength, endurance, and careful coordination between workers. In the hay meadow, the entire community has gathered. Men with scythes form a line at one end, ready to begin the systematic cutting. Women and older children follow behind with wooden rakes, turning the cut grass to ensure even drying. Your father joins the line of scythers, while you, your mother, and Thomas take positions with rakes. Even little Matilda has come along to help gather the smaller piles, though she'll tire quickly in the heat. The work begins with a rhythm that's almost beautiful to watch. The scythers swing their long-bladed tools in a coordinated dance, each cutting a swathe through the tall grass before moving forward to the next section. The sound of metal slicing through stems creates a whispering backdrop to the occasional calls and jokes between workers. Behind them, you and the other rakers spread the cut hay to dry evenly in the sun. It's hot work with no shade in the open meadow. Sweat soaks your clothing within the first hour, and your arms begin to ache from the repetitive motion of the rake. But there's community in this shared labor. Songs help maintain rhythm and boost spirits. Stories and gossip pass up and down the line. Children too young to work effectively play at the meadow's edge under the watchful eyes of the oldest villagers, no longer strong enough for field work, but still contributing through childcare. By midday, you've covered nearly half the meadow. The men pause to sharpen their scythes with whetstones, the metallic scraping sound carrying across the field. Everyone breaks for a quick meal, bread, cheese and ale carried to the field in wooden containers. As promised, your mother catches your eye during the meal break. "Now," she mouths silently. The two of you slip away from the group, heading toward the woodland edge where the special midsummer herbs grow. No one comments on your departure. Women's herb gathering is recognized as essential work even during the hay harvest. In the dappled shade of the forest edge, the air feels blissfully cooler after hours in the open meadow. Your mother moves with purpose, identifying plants that look like ordinary weeds to untrained eyes. "St. John's wort," she says, pointing to a plant with bright yellow flowers. Gathered at midsummer, it protects against evil and cures melancholy. You help collect the flowers, careful to leave enough of the plant to regrow. Sustainable harvesting is second nature. Your community depends on these wild resources year after year. "And here," your mother continues, finding a patch of small white flowers, chickweed for healing salves. The moon rules it, but gathering at noon on midsummer gives it extra power. Whether these beliefs have any scientific basis doesn't matter. They're part of the knowledge system that has helped your people survive for generations. The careful observation of which plants heal, which harm, and when their most potent forms, a practical pharmacopoeia passed from mother to daughter. With baskets filled with the special herbs, you return to the hay meadow. The work has resumed without you, and you quickly take up your rake again, rejoining the steady rhythm of community labor. By late afternoon, the entire meadow is cut, the hay spread to dry in the hot summer sun. Tomorrow it will be turned again, and if the weather holds, gathered into stacks within a few days. Eventually, it will be stored in the communal hay barn, providing essential winter feed for the village's precious livestock. Exhausted but satisfied, the villagers make their way home. There's still the evening meal to prepare, animals to tend, and final preparations for tomorrow's festival. At the cottage, despite your fatigue, you help your mother hang the midsummer herbs in special bunches from the rafters. Some will become part of the decorations for tomorrow's festivities, others will be dried for medicinal use throughout the coming year. "Did you finish the belt?" your mother asks as you work. You nod, a flutter of nervous excitement in your stomach. The woven belt is complete, a band of blue and red diamonds on a natural background with carefully braided fringe at each end. It's the finest piece of weaving you've ever created, worthy of a craftsman's appreciation. "Let me see," your mother requests. You retrieve the belt from its hiding place, carefully wrapped in a clean cloth to protect it from dirt and smoke. Your mother examines it with a critical eye, running her fingers over the pattern to check the tension and evenness of the weave. "Good work," she says finally, and you release a breath you didn't realize you were holding. From your mother, this simple phrase is high praise indeed. He'll be pleased with it. The belt is rewrapped and set aside for tomorrow. Meanwhile, there's still the evening work to complete. Feeding animals, preparing food, the endless cycle of tasks that make up a medieval woman's day. As darkness falls, an unusual energy fills the cottage despite the physical exhaustion of hay cutting. Tomorrow is not just any festival, but midsummer, one of the most important celebrations of the year, marking the sun's highest point and the beginning of the harvest season. "We'll leave after morning chores," your father announces, a rare concession to celebration over work. "The hay can wait one day to be turned." This declaration is met with excited murmurs from the children. Even your practical, work-oriented father recognizes the importance of community celebrations, not just for enjoyment, but for maintaining the social bonds that help everyone survive. That night, sleep is slow to come despite your physical tiredness. Your mind races with thoughts of tomorrow, the festival, the dancing, Edward and his mysterious gift, your carefully crafted belt in return. Medieval peasant life offers few opportunities for personal expression or individual choices. Most of existence is dictated by necessity, tradition, and obligation to family and community. But moments like these, the creation of a special gift, the anticipation of a festival dance, provide small windows for individual happiness within the strict confines of your world. You shift on your straw mattress, trying to find a comfortable position for your body, tired from the day's labor yet restless with anticipation. The cottage is quiet except for the soft breathing of your sleeping family and the occasional rustle of mice in the thatch above. Through the small window, moonlight casts a silver path across the packed earth floor. Tomorrow night, midsummer bonfires will light the darkness, keeping the sun's power alive through the shortest night of the year. Ancient beliefs mingle with Christian teachings in these celebrations. The priest will bless the bonfires, giving church approval to practices that long predate his religion. People will jump the flames for luck and fertility, gather special plants by moonlight, and dance until exhaustion takes them. And somewhere in that swirl of community celebration, you hope to find a few moments with Edward, to exchange gifts, perhaps to talk about possibilities that extend beyond Midsummer Night. Your eyes grow heavy at last, your mind drifting between wakefulness and dreams. Images of dancing figures around bonfires blend with the memory of Edward's smile at the market, the weight of the completed belt in your hands, the unknown gift he's creating for you. A yawn escapes as you shift slightly, finding that perfect hollow in the straw mattress where your body fits just right. Your muscles relax, releasing the tension of the long day's work as you sink deeper into the bedding. The soft sounds of night wrap around you like a gentle embrace, cradling you in that peaceful place between thoughts and dreams. That's it, just like that. Breathing naturally slowing as the anticipation of tomorrow's festival carries you toward restful darkness. Midsummer morning dawns with golden light streaming through the cottage window. You wake with a flutter of excitement in your stomach. Today is not just any festival, but a day that might change the course of your life. The cottage bustles with unusual energy as everyone prepares for the celebration. Even routine morning chores feel different with anticipation hanging in the air. Water is fetched, animals fed, fire tended, but quickly, efficiently, with thoughts already turning to the day ahead. "Agnes, help Matilda with her hair," your mother instructs as she packs food for the festival. Bread, cheese, and the special honey cakes she baked yesterday. Each family contributes to the communal feast that will happen later. You sit your sister on a small stool and begin combing her tangled brown hair with the wooden comb shared by the family. Unlike most days, today her hair will be loose rather than braided and covered, a special treatment for unmarried girls during festivals. "Will you put flowers in it?" Matilda asks hopefully. "If we find some pretty ones on the way," you promise, working gently through a stubborn knot. Your own hair has already been combed, falling in waves down your back. You've washed it specially for today, using the soap saved for important occasions, and the herbal rinse your mother prepared makes it shine in the morning light. Your best dress, still simple by modern standards but finer than your everyday wear, hangs ready. The wool is a slightly brighter blue, with embroidery your mother added around the neck and sleeves. The stitches are small and even, representing hours of work by firelight during winter evenings. Beneath it, you'll wear your cleanest linen chemise, freshly washed and dried in the summer sun. No one but family will see this undergarment, but cleanliness on feast days is important both practically and symbolically, a way of honoring the sacred occasion. "Thomas, the water bucket is empty again," your mother calls, momentarily breaking the festive atmosphere with everyday concerns. Even on celebration days, thirst must be quenched and basic needs met. As the morning progresses, you help prepare your siblings and yourself for the festival. The carefully woven belt for Edward is wrapped in a clean cloth and tucked into the small pouch you'll carry tied to your waist. Your father has even splashed a bit of precious water on his face and combed his beard, small concessions to the special nature of the day. By mid-morning, your family joins the stream of villagers heading toward the festival grounds, a large meadow near the edge of the forest where celebrations have been held for generations. Even from a distance, you can see the maypole erected in the center, decorated with ribbons and summer flowers. Nearby stands a pile of wood, ready for the evening bonfire. The festival has already begun when you arrive. Musicians, a piper, a drummer, and a man with a simple stringed instrument play lively tunes at one edge of the meadow. Children run and play, their usual chores suspended for this one precious day. Older villagers sit in the shade, watching the activities with the contented expressions of those who have seen many such celebrations come and go. Your eyes scan the growing crowd, looking for one particular face. Is Edward here yet? Your heart beats faster at the thought of seeing him, of exchanging gifts, of perhaps dancing together when evening comes. "Agnes," your mother's voice breaks into your thoughts. "Help me spread the blanket." You turn your attention back to your family, helping establish your spot for the day, a worn woolen blanket spread on the grass where you'll sit, eat, and rest between activities. Your mother unpacks the food contributions for the communal table that's being assembled under a canopy of branches. The festival follows ancient patterns, blending Christian and older traditions in the way of medieval village life. First comes the blessing from the village priest, who makes the sign of the cross over the gathered community and speaks Latin words few understand but all respect. Then the games begin, tests of strength and skill for the men and boys, including your father and Thomas, archery contests, wrestling matches, races across the meadow. Women have their own competitions, tests of spinning skill, herb identification challenges, even a contest to see who can balance the most water buckets without spilling. You participate in some activities, but your attention remains divided, your eyes constantly searching the crowd for Edward. As midday approaches with no sign of him, a tendril of worry begins to curl in your stomach. What if he doesn't come? What if the peddler's message was wrong? Or a joke? "He'll be here," your mother says quietly, noticing your distraction. The townfolk always come later, after their morning work. Her words prove true. Just as the communal feast begins, tables laden with contributions from every family, creating a meal far more varied and plentiful than everyday fare, you spot a group arriving from the direction of town. And there he is, Edward, walking with a group of other young men his age, all dressed in their best clothes. Even from a distance, he stands out to your eyes, taller than some, his shoulders broader from the physical work of the smithy. your cheeks warm as he scans the crowd, obviously looking for someone. For you, when his eyes find yours, his face breaks into a wide smile that makes your heart skip. But there's no opportunity for private conversation yet. The feast takes precedence, a community affair where everyone shares food and drink in quantities rarely seen during ordinary times. You find yourself seated with your family while Edward joins his friends at another table. The meal is impressive by medieval standards. Bread both dark and light, cheeses of different ages, summer vegetables fresh from gardens, preserved meats brought out from winter storage, pies filled with early fruits, and ale flowing freely from communal barrels. For one day, even the poorest villagers eat their fill, and the usual strict hierarchy of who eats first and most is relaxed in the spirit of celebration. Throughout the meal, you catch Edward glancing your way, and each time your eyes meet, that same smile appears. The anticipation builds, a sweet tension that makes the simplest foods taste better, the summer air feel more alive against your skin. After eating comes music and dancing. First, the traditional circle dances where everyone participates, from youngest children to oldest grandparents. The steps are simple, passed down through generations, accompanied by songs everyone knows by heart. As the afternoon progresses, the dancing shifts. Younger people form their own circles, the movements more energetic, the music faster. This is when couples begin to pair off, creating opportunities for conversation and connection under the approving eyes of the community. Your chance comes during a brief pause between dances. Edward appears at your side as if by magic, slightly out of breath from the last vigorous dance. "Agnes," he says, your name sounding different in his voice. "I've been looking forward to seeing you." Simple words, but they send a flush of pleasure through you. "Me too," you admit, suddenly shy despite weeks of anticipation. An awkward pause follows, both of you aware of curious eyes watching this interaction. Courtship happens in public in your world, observed and approved or disapproved by the community that will ultimately incorporate any new couples into its fabric. "Would you walk with me?" Edward asks, gesturing toward the edge of the meadow where other young couples stroll within sight of the festival but far enough away for some privacy of conversation. You glance at your mother, who gives a small nod of permission. This, too, is part of the dance. Parental approval sought and granted, boundaries established and respected. The two of you walk slowly toward a large oak tree at the meadow's edge, maintaining a proper distance between your bodies. Physical contact between unmarried young people is limited and circumscribed, especially when the eventual outcome might be marriage. "I made something for you," Edward says when you reach the shade of the oak. He reaches into a small leather pouch at his belt and pulls out a bundle wrapped in clean cloth. Your heart quickens. "I made something for you too." You exchange bundles, the brief touch of fingers sending a spark through your hand. Medieval courtship may be restrained by modern standards, but the human heart hasn't changed across the centuries. You unwrap the cloth to find a small metal brooch shaped like a flower with 5 delicate petals. The craftsmanship is exquisite, far finer than anything your family owns. Each petal has been carefully worked to create texture like a real flower, and at the center sits a tiny, polished stone that catches the sunlight. "It's beautiful," you breathe, genuinely awed by both the skill involved and the precious materials. This represents days of work and valuable resources, a significant investment in your relationship. "I thought it might hold your cloak in winter," Edward explains, watching your face anxiously for signs of approval. "The stone is for protection. My father helped me polish it." The mention of his father's involvement is significant. It indicates family approval of this courtship gesture. Just as your mother provided special thread for Edward's belt, his father contributed to your brooch. Meanwhile, Edward has unwrapped your gift. He runs his fingers over the woven pattern, examining the even tension and careful color placement with a craftsman's eye. "This is fine work," he says with appreciation that warms you from within. "The pattern, diamonds for strength?" You nod. Pleased, he recognized the symbolic meaning woven into the design, and the red and blue together, for fire and water, he finishes. The smith's elements. The fact that he understands the symbolism you incorporated creates another connection between you. Shared knowledge, shared appreciation for craft and meaning. "Thank you," he says, immediately looping the belt through the leather apron he wears even on this festival day, the mark of his trade never entirely set aside. "I'll wear it always at the forge. This practical use of your gift is the highest compliment in your world, where objects must justify their existence through function as well as beauty. And I'll wear your brooch on market days," you promise, already imagining how the other village women will admire this token of a craftsman's esteem. Around you, the festival continues. Music, laughter, the occasional shout from games still in progress. But in this moment under the oak tree, a smaller, more personal celebration has begun, the careful first steps of a potential life partnership. "My father says I'll be ready for my masterwork by winter," Edward tells you, pride evident in his voice. "If it's approved, I could take commissions of my own by spring." The implications hang in the air between you. A craftsman who can take his own commissions is a craftsman who can support a wife, establish a household separate from his parents. "My mother says my weaving is strong enough to sell now," you offer in return. This skill, along with your knowledge of herbs and gardening, forms part of what you would bring to a marriage, the ability to contribute to a household's economy beyond basic domestic labor. The conversation continues, moving from work to families to small observations about the festival happening around you. Each shared thought, each discovered commonality builds a foundation for potential partnership. As the sun begins its slow descent toward evening, you walk back toward the main celebration together. No promises have been explicitly made. That would be premature after just 2 meetings. But a path has been opened, possibilities acknowledged. The evening portion of the festival begins as dusk approaches. The great midsummer bonfire is lit with ceremony and prayer, flames leaping toward the darkening sky. Its light bathes the meadow in flickering orange glow, transforming familiar faces into mysterious versions of themselves. More dancing follows, now in the firelight. These dances are different, older, wilder somehow, though still contained within community standards. Young people leap over smaller fires lit from the main bonfire, a ritual for good fortune that the church officially discourages but pragmatically permits. Edward finds you again for these evening dances. The steps bring you together and apart, hands touching briefly before separating, a physical manifestation of the careful approach and retreat of courtship itself. Later, much later, when the moon is high and the bonfire has burned down to glowing embers, your family prepares to return home. The youngest children have already fallen asleep on the blanket, exhausted by excitement and unaccustomed freedom. Edward walks with your family part of the way, a gesture both courteous and significant. At the crossroads where his path back to town diverges from yours to the village, he speaks briefly to your father, man to man, a few words exchanged with serious expressions. "You're not meant to hear, but you catch fragments. Would like permission to visit." And your father's measured response, "Welcome at Sunday dinner." An invitation to a family meal, another step on the path, another public acknowledgement of potential. Your heart feels as if it might burst from a mixture of happiness and nervous anticipation. The walk home is quiet, everyone tired from the day's activities but satisfied in different ways. Your father carries sleeping John on his shoulder. Thomas walks proudly, having won a small prize in an archery contest. Matilda drifts alongside your mother, flower crown now wilted but still perched on her head. And you walk with the weight of the metal brooch in your pocket and the memory of Edward's smile when he saw your gift, with the echo of music in your ears and the knowledge that Sunday dinner will bring him to your home, into your daily world, rather than just the special realm of festivals and markets. Back at the cottage, the usual evening routine is abbreviated by exhaustion. The fire is lit, minimal washing completed, sleeping places prepared. But as you settle onto your straw mattress, the day's events continue to play through your mind, a sweet unrest that keeps sleep at bay despite your tired body. This is how change happens in your medieval world, not in dramatic ruptures, but in small sanctioned steps within established patterns. A gift exchanged, a meal invitation extended, a craft mastered, a household slowly, carefully established. Your thoughts drift to what might come next. Sunday dinner, more meetings at markets or church gatherings, perhaps by next midsummer if all progress is well, a betrothal, a year of preparation then, saving and making household items, planning and building, and finally a wedding, simple by modern standards but a significant community event marking the establishment of a new household within the village structure. Outside the cottage, the midsummer night is unusually quiet. Even the night creatures seem to respect the special nature of this shortest darkness of the year. Through the small window, you can see stars scattered across the velvet sky, constant and unchanging above the human cycles of work and celebration below. Your eyelids begin to grow heavy at last, the excitement of the day giving way to physical tiredness. The straw mattress cradles your body in familiar comfort as you find that perfect hollow where you fit just right. Your breathing slows naturally, each exhale a little longer than the one before. The tension in your muscles releases bit by bit, starting from your feet and moving upward through your body. That's it, just like that, letting go of the day and welcoming the restful darkness. The boundaries between thoughts begin to blur. Images of the festival, the dancing, the bonfire, Edward's smile, mixing with dreams beginning to form at the edges of consciousness. Your limbs grow pleasantly heavy, sinking deeper into the bedding as if being gently pressed into the earth itself. And as you drift towards sleep on this midsummer night, there's a sense of your place in a long continuum, one medieval woman among countless others who have celebrated this same festival, fallen in love, worked their crafts, built their households, and kept life flowing forward through the centuries. In the quiet darkness of your cottage, surrounded by your sleeping family, your breathing deepens into the rhythm of dreams. The weight of the day settles around you like a comfortable blanket, holding you in that peaceful place between this world and the next. Sleep comes at last, carrying you away on gentle waves of exhaustion and contentment. Medieval peasant women's lives were undeniably hard by modern standards, filled with physical labor, limited by social constraints, vulnerable to hunger and disease, but within those constraints existed genuine moments of joy, community connection, personal skill, and human love. As you sink deeper into sleep, there's a whisper of connection across time. Between your medieval dreams and the modern person listening to this tale, different worlds, different challenges, but the same human heart beating through the centuries. Your breathing slows to match theirs, both finding peace in the quiet darkness at the end of a full day. Your consciousness dims like the last embers of the midsummer bonfire, thoughts scattering like sparks before fading into the vast, welcoming darkness of deep sleep. The cottage is silent now, except for the soft breathing of your family, the occasional creak of the settling structure, the distant hoot of an owl hunting in the summer night. Sleep well, Agnes. Sleep well, modern listener, connected across time by the simple human needs for work that matters, love that sustains, and rest that renews. Your eyes are closed now, breathing deep and even, body completely relaxed as you drift further from wakefulness. That's right, just like that, letting go completely as sleep embraces you fully, carrying you away until morning comes again with its familiar call to wake, to work, to live another day in your own particular time and place.